Well, welcome to Tennis Sucks. No Travis today, but we have a much better replacement, special guest, Anna Bright. Speaking of, I always thought what a perfect last name you have. Are you really happy with your last name?
Yeah, not changing it.
Right?
Yeah, it's a great name. Great flow. I like 3-syllable names, you know. Anna Bright.
And Bright. I mean, and you're an athlete or doing something successful. It's crazy. That's a great last name.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I was telling Luke here before we got on. Oh, by the way, Travis isn't here because he's getting some treatment. I think PRP. Is that what it's called? They
so.
take platelets out of yourself and then put it back in your knee.
I think that
for that injury he had, stretching. But do you remember where we met? Maybe not, because I was just harassing you at Pickleplex.
No, actually. I remember the tournament and everything, and I remember just destroying Travis in mixed. Like, I think it was like 15-1 maybe. Maybe 15-0. I actually don't remember you being there, you talking to me.
Was Pickleplex your first real tournament?
That was my first pro tournament. I had played a few 5-0s, like...
So that was also Travis's first tournament. That's a weird thing. But yeah, I definitely saw you play and Travis was playing and he had just started, so we had no partners. And I ran over to you and I was just like, hey, what do you think about partying with Travis? He just started and he's really good. And you're like, okay, but I've gotten a whole lot of offers today. I'll get back to you.
Seriously? That's so savage of me.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, okay.
No, Travis texted me right after, maybe it was either that day or it was right after the event. I don't know. And it was this long message. He was like, I went to UCLA, you went to Cal, you'd be Pac-12. And I was like, I just killed you.
No, you were cold. You were cold to both of us. But, for a good reason. You didn't know any of us. You didn't know the scene. You were getting a lot of people hey, you want to play? In that moment, I think, right? Because you showed up. I think you won. Did you win both events in that thing?
Yeah, women's and singles. The singles field was quite thin, but it was quite the breakout party for me.
But I just thought it was a funny moment thinking back because that was your first pro tournament. It was Travis's first pro tournament. And
maybe Megan and Ryler too.
Yeah, Ryler's for sure, because that was who he partnered with. I think they won men's. I think. Maybe not. I don't remember the tournament fully. But yeah, that was Ryler's first and probably Megan's first too. Yeah, that's a crazy event if you think about it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of pros that was their first attempt at pro pickleball. Was at a random Pickleplex. Was it an APP?
Yeah, APP.
Oh, APP.
Punta Gorda.
Yeah, Punta Gorda. Oh. Yeah, I know you're here this week to train with Rachel, right?
Yep.
For MLP, not for the PPA Invitational, specifically for MLP, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're training at Bardmore. You were just saying how you were training with Damon, who I'm a big fan of. He's a good...
Yeah, I really like him.
He's a good instructor. So when I first started playing, he was him and Rachel were two of my first instructors, and he played pro. He was a legit player, 4 years ago, US Open medals type player. So Damon was obviously a good tennis player, but a really good pickleball player too.
Tell us about, you drafted Rachel. The thing that Graham and I were talking about was what did you know about Rachel before you drafted her, and what kind of went into your mind when you were thinking about drafting her?
So I knew that the squeeze were going to take me at 3. Okay. Which I was kind of that's kind of a reach. I don't know about that. But they ended up half an hour for the draft. I was freaking out. I was you guys got to trade down. I was I can't go at 3. So they traded with DC, which is funny how it kind of ended up working out to the 5th spot. But I knew I was going early, and I feel as a girl in the first round, it's really tough because you can't kind of carry your team in the same way that a man can. So I wanted, I did the same with the Hustlers, go high upside woman in the 4th round because I just felt a lot of the other options I didn't feel was someone that we could potentially win an event with or make a super deep run. I felt could have made a solid team, but I, might as well swing for this 3 events, might as well kind of go for it. So that was my philosophy. And I knew of Rachel from junior tennis. We played a couple times. I won both, just saying. She was really good though. And then in college, she played at USC, and we played her team once, and her team was really good that year. They beat us pretty handily. And Rachel was just she was so annoying. She was so loud. SEC teams are a little more obnoxious, period. But and she was also she was so good. We didn't play. She played at she was 5-6 that year. I was playing like 3-4. I should have been playing lower in the lineup probably, but our team had some injuries. Would have been fun if we had played, but she was really good.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
like
But
that year, I think she was like 20-3.
But how did you know in pickleball? Like, did you see her play a pickleball event, or you just picked her based on tennis?
Oh, no, I saw her. So at the PPA Rockwall in May, maybe, her and Regina beat Lauren Stratman and Lindsay Newman. I didn't watch it, but then on stream, her and Regina lost to Annalie and Catherine, and then also on stream, she had a mixed match on stream.
Gotcha.
So I was going off of those and kind of.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You weren't like friends. You didn't really know her. You just knew her from tennis. You saw a couple of results. Did you think to go and look for those? You just remember that Rockwall tournament, her getting that win in results somehow. Like how did she come to your mind? I guess is what I'm saying.
We were talking in Rockwall, and it's funny. Rachel actually DM'd me on Instagram like over a year ago, asking me to play like APP Chicago with her. She was like, "Remember me?" And I was like, "Yeah, no." Kind of the same probably that I gave response I gave like you and Travis. I was like, "Yeah, no." So we were like friendly and everything. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I always check the results of like every event. I check all the APP results. I follow them. So I had also seen a couple good wins in APPs at that point. Like I think her and Will Sobek made a deep run in APP Newport, I want to say. Beat like Ryler and Susanna, I think once, like a couple, like good
like
wins.
decent wins.
And so
with partners that aren't like top tier. So if you can give her a top tier, maybe she advances even.
Yeah, and I just
thought
I thought she was a dog. I thought the record in college tennis, like such a good doubles player, like 25-3 or something. It just shows clutchness and balls. And just being a good competitor. And so
that's awesome.
That's kind of
great.
I wasn't
find.
going off much. I wasn't going off much.
Yeah, it's a great find. I mean,
it was tough. It was tough because the decision came to me, and it was like the time was like done, and it's like who is? And I was like Rachel.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah, we had a similar moment like that in our draft. We were debating on like Allison Harris because Brendan knew her. And I was like, I know nothing about her. And the clock was ticking. And then looking back, like you saw what happened with Allison Harris in season 2. It's like, wow, that would have been a great grab.
I can't believe no one took Allison Harris. I think that was such a...
I didn't know. I mean, I hadn't seen... I mean, I've seen her a little bit in her results a little bit, but I didn't know how good she was going to be. So a similar moment.
I couldn't believe no one took her.
Yeah. Well, now she's on the scene.
You guys had like such great chemistry too. I mean, did you play with Rachel before MLP much? Like, I mean...
No, not at all. I actually asked her to play the PPA San Clemente with me because Vivian David was injured or something, but she couldn't make it happen. So I was because she was already kind of on my radar at that point, but yeah. So no, I hadn't.
Wow. So that's probably a pretty good surprise. Then you like show up at MLP and all of a sudden like.
Oh, absolutely. Like I was hoping that like the level she had in Atlanta would be the level that she'd have in like the third MLP is what I was like like that, like if everything went, as I had hoped, but then, first match against the Ranchers.
Right.
Like beast mode.
Right. Yeah. That's wild. So
sorry, Travis isn't.
He'll survive.
We can,
That's funny. So obviously we have the final coming up this not this weekend. It's the 4th and 5th, I think.
Yeah,
next
Monday,
week.
Tuesday, like about a week.
Yeah. How are you feeling about it? Any thought predictions or thoughts about generally going into it?
I don't know. I mean, every match is a crapshoot. We're gonna play DC again.
Right.
We have to beat the Kawamotos. Like me and Rachel have to beat the freaking Kawamotos. I freaking can't stand them. So we have to win that match. I feel like.
You can't stand their game?
I can't stand them, period.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm joking. I love them.
I was going to say, they're very likable people.
How could anyone like dislike the Kawamotos? No, I love them. Like I just played with Jade and me and Jackie like won MLP Newport together.
Yeah.
No, I love them. They're just so annoying together. I feel like they're tougher together than when they play with other partners.
Yeah, like that. Is that a sibling thing? Just
it's
sibling twin. It's
twin
like
bump.
Lefty righty.
Yeah,
they got
lefty
righty twin bump.
And they've been playing a long time.
Right.
They've been playing pickleball for a long time.
Interesting.
So did you train like this weekend when you're with Rachel at Bardmore? Are you training like specifically for that match a lot? Like, are you?
I've only got here like last night. I'm leaving today, but kind of we're thinking about it. Like we've been talking about it. Got some people helping us game plan it a little bit.
That's
but
cool.
It's tough because it's just one game to 21. Like I feel like there's some things we could do that might work over the course of a 2 out of 3 or best of 5 match, but it's too risky to go out and like bank on that working and like
it happens too fast.
It happens too fast. It's like it could not, like it needs to work immediately. It can't.
No,
you can't like wait.
Everything does. Like that's the whole trick to MLP is just
different.
getting out the gate, right? It's just just firing immediately, like finding that chemistry. I feel like immediately is like the trick to MLP.
Yeah. And you're going to be coming right off the back of the PPA event as well, which you mentioned Vivian David, who you got to draft, right, for that event.
Yeah.
I was talking to Graham, and he didn't know the format of this one. This is kind of unusual for PPA, right? This is like the first of its kind. Could you like explain like how this process works? Because I don't know a lot of people know the kind of invitational.
Yeah. So there's going to be like 8 teams in each division. So 16 men qualified in genders and women, et cetera, and then 8 in each in mixed. And it went by your ranking, like the order of your pick. So Annalie was 1 in women. She took Catherine. Then I got to pick, and I had kind of my pick of the remaining 13 women.
Right.
And yeah, I chose Vivian David. And then in mixed, I had the pick because Riley took Vivian David as well, and then I took James. So
got it.
So it just kind of goes down the list, sort of.
Yeah, we were wondering why you picked James. There's so many better guys out there that you could have grabbed.
You know, if Travis was there, I might have thought real hard about it. I have to take James. You know, they changed the format in mix. Initially, the format was going to be like, there was no picking, no selections. 1 plays with 1, 2 plays with 2, 3 plays with 3. And then I was going to play with Riley. And I was actually kind of excited about it, in all honesty, because we would have run back Minnesota. James would have played with Catherine. Wow. You know, we would have run back like the monkey off, which would have been fine to do like as a one-off thing. So it's tough. Like, I'm happy to be playing with James. It's like you can't, like, I was always going to do that, but it's also like I just thought it would have been hilarious if Riley had picked me too. It would have been really fun. And I had heard it was like me or Vivian David, and you know, it was gonna be kind of spur of the moment.
Yeah.
And Dave Fleming calls me, and I'm like, did Riley take me? He was like, no, he took Vivian David. I was like, okay, James. Like, he was like, I figured.
I'm kidding. James is a great player. I understand. I was just trying to make a joke.
Like, so funny.
I
love it.
I knew you were joking. I mean, obviously he's good. It's like you say, like, right. Why would like Ben isn't good? It's like James isn't Ben, but it's like everyone knows he's good.
That's too funny. Yeah, I think that like I mean, obviously there's matchups that we kind of expected to see. There are some kind of the end, like picking the people kind of at the bottom of the list. They ended up with some interesting matchups. Although I was saying to Graham, like Matt Wright ended up picking James, yeah, which instead of Riley, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, there was no way Matt was going to pick Riley.
You don't think so?
0 chance.
Yeah.
Literally 0 chance.
Do you think that this
Matt is on like a mission, like beat Riley.
To beat Riley. Yeah, it makes sense, I think, right?
Is this like a preview, you think, to partnerships in 2024, some of these picks, or not really?
Not too much. I don't really think. I think it's kind of people just I don't really think so. I think it's more so people just kind of picking out of who's available. Like obviously Annalie and Catherine, Ben and Annalie, I guess. But after that, it was kind of like a smorgasbord kind of, I think. Yeah,
I was wondering, because there's so many questions up in the air for me next year. Like, do you have any idea who Jack Sock's playing with next year?
No, I have no idea.
Have you reached out to him at all, or no way?
No.
Just you're with James no matter what.
James forever. I think.
Got it.
I think that's how, you know. Maybe I should have made him ask me, get on one knee and ask me to play next year.
Yeah, you should.
No.
I'm curious to know, like, because Jack Sock, I think, is going to be a big mix-up for the tour in general, for everything, because he's going to be more than likely a top 5-ish male, I'm thinking, maybe even top 3-ish male.
And mixed immediately, I think in men's, probably, I think.
Top 5, top 5.
He can be 1, I feel like, if he just grinds.
So then what does that mean? Does, like, Ben play the move and grab him so that he maintains dominance?
I don't see Ben doing that.
Okay,
I think Ben and Colin's system is so perfect. Like, it would take Jack a little, like, he has the tools and the hand speed and the power, of course, better than Ben, but men's is so much more about the dinking matters so much more and the soft stuff because the game is so much slower. So I feel like that will take him some time, you know, and Ben is so unbelievably good at that. I think if you don't have like a really trained eye, you can't even fully appreciate how incredible it is. But in mixed, it's more of just a game of brute force.
So you have no guesses on who his partners will be for next year, Jax?
I have none.
I haven't heard any rumors either. Like Riley Newman or Tyson?
I heard that before. I heard maybe Catherine in mixed.
Okay.
Which would be like a really good, I haven't heard that from any good source.
Someone
mentioned that.
Selkirk
Selkirk and Selkirk likes, I think, their players playing together.
Okay.
So I just think that's the only thing I've heard is a possibility.
Gotcha.
Because I know her and Tyson aren't continuing. So I don't really know. I'm not really a great podcast guest. I'm not really too in tune with the drama.
You're a great podcast guest.
No, I'm terrible. Give me compliments.
No, we're fortunate to have you. And so yesterday, I saw you because you were training with Connor Derrickson, who's the
Oh
pickleball
yeah,
trainer.
congratulations!
Yeah.
You're now working out.
Congrats to him. I mean, like,
For getting you to work out.
I don't know, for getting my money, I guess.
Yeah, so you're now seeing the pickleball trainer to the stars.
I guess.
Connor Derrickson. You've gone to him a couple
Yeah.
times now. What do you think?
Yeah, it's good.
Do you
Good.
like working out?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't. I'm pretty like disciplined in most aspects of my life, but I've always hated like hard physical effort and pain. I don't like it. Like long running, like long distance stuff is more easy to me. I like it, but like lifting weights, like sprinting is just not really my thing. So I think it's good for me to have someone kind of force me to do it. Over the summer, I was working out a good amount with at a place in Boca, Cost Performance. They were really good to me, but it's just too tough with all the travel and everything. And I think Connor kind of understands that more in the schedule just because he's already kind of done it with Catherine,
Right.
and kind of more integrated in the space.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I hate working out. I hate physical pain like that. And it's boring. I mean, not with Connor. It's a little more fun because now you got like a partner there you're chatting with. But I don't know. Lifting things up in the air and putting them down to me is like.
It's not really competitive or like it doesn't spark.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You don't want to get big, Graham?
You can get big other
You're already
ways.
big.
Yeah, like that. You know, you don't have to lift things up in the air for that to happen.
Yeah.
You can eat good food at nice restaurants. You'll get
There
big.
you go. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, that's too funny. Yeah. So are you thinking this is going to help? Because you don't play a lot of singles, generally,
No.
right? So
No,
I mean,
I'm
and I
kinda
feel like
done
that's
with
where the
that.
training, like, often has the biggest
For sure.
impacts, right?
100%.
So do you think, like, how do you think it will help? Just doubles, you'll get doubles game, I guess, generally.
I think I kind of spoke to him about this, and I asked him before I said yes and everything. I was like, so how much improvement do you think like I can see in this in my doubles game?
Right.
I was kind of like wanted to feel out like what he would say if I thought it was really.
Sure.
He was like, well, if we got 10%, I was like 10%, like there's no chance, you know. I was like, don't, you know. And then I was like, I think if we got like 5% improvement just in terms of mobility and kind of strength, that extension and stuff, because I think I have a lot of room to improve as like in terms of crashing, and that's kind of more athleticism based and first step and just being stronger. Like my legs have always been really strong, but like my shoulders, you know, yesterday he had to keep taking weights out of that one contraption.
Yeah,
And I was so weak, you know, trying to do something like shoulder press, and he didn't say anything, but for the second that he just like took some more weight out of them, I was like, yeah, thanks. Thanks, buddy. That's what I need.
Yeah. I will say you were a beast at the cold plunge. You definitely did not react the way that I would have done if I had done that.
You know,
Have you done one before?
I've never done one.
Yeah,
I
me
actually
either.
maybe I will have to do it.
I'm afraid. I'm actually afraid of it. I don't want. It's another pain thing. It's like, why? Why am I doing that? I don't understand it.
it's actually funny, the cold plunge. So I did it and I got in there and immediately it's like pain, and I went right into like a pretty like meditative state. I'm not like, I don't meditate much, but James actually does all the time. I don't know if many people know that. He's probably talked about it a little bit, but James
I didn't know that.
James is super meditative. He meditates a lot. He's like kind of meditating when he's playing.
Wow.
And so, you know, sometimes I do it with him, like he's always talking about it and stuff. So went right into like meditating, but he always says like, you know, like thoughts like come and you kind of choose whether or not to engage with them. And so for the first like 2 minutes, I was really focused, you know, wasn't hurting that much. And then I had a thought because you and Connor were in the room, and I was like, oh, maybe I should talk to them. Then I was like, oh, maybe I'm being rude, like by not talking to them. So then I started talking to you guys, and then it started to hurt more.
Yeah.
Even though the first minute is supposed to be the worst, but the last 2 minutes were actually the most like painful for me because I kind of came out of that state and was like talking to you guys, trying to not be rude. So that's like the thought that pulled me out. I was talking to James about it last night. Kind of funny.
What is Jimmy? Yeah, in that headset, what is he listening to? Is that something to do with meditation? Like he's always got his, you know, like his.
Yeah, it's just some like. I don't know the exact YouTube video. It's like yoga nidra.
Oh,
like,
so he's meditating when he's got that on.
It's like non-sleep deep rest. Stuff.
Wow. All right. I didn't know that. 'Cause I'm always bothering him. It feels like you're bothering him a lot, which I don't know that
That's
you truly
the vibe.
are.
That's what he's trying to make you feel like, so people don't bother him.
Yeah, exactly. But I still do it. I will.
No good.
I'm like, he'll ignore me, and I'll like tap on it.
No, he'll wear them at home too sometimes, and I'm like, sometimes I don't even realize he's not listening to me. I'm
Right.
just like,
That's funny. So do you have like what is your mental game like? Do you have a meditative process when you're like playing or?
not really.
Yeah.
I've always been pretty good at just being like in the zone, locked in when I play. Sometimes I struggle. Sometimes, and then I just try to focus on breathing. Like there's definitely some times when I'm not good at just kind of getting in that locked in, dialed mentality.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Do you have a mental game, Graham, when you're playing? You always seem pretty focused when you're playing anyway.
I do?
Yeah.
I think the opposite. I think I have no focus.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm like wander. I like to see other people playing on the courts beside me. No, I'm more thinking about like, this is sad. Are like the other people on the court enjoying themselves?
Yeah.
It's just a weird thing. Maybe not like at Tournament of Champions, but I'm thinking about, am I playing too hard for the people across from me? Am I playing too easy for the people across from me? Is my partner happy on the left side? Does he want to do some right? Am I setting them up properly? Like I'm thinking about everyone else and whether or not that game's enjoyable for everyone else in the game, which is probably a really weird way to play. But
that's just really nice.
But then people will say to me like, can you try harder, or can you actually get into this game? Like especially when we hear Travis, he gets angry about it. And I'm like, everyone seems to be enjoying themselves. He's like, I don't care. Like I want to play and get practice and like win. And I'm like, okay, fine, let's do something different.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I suppose in tournaments that is definitely a thing, but in rec play that's a really sweet thing to do, is to make sure everyone's happy.
Yeah, like because if everyone else enjoying the game, usually I'm enjoying the game, right?
Yeah.
If only I'm enjoying the game, I don't know. It's just
sound like the kind of guy who wouldn't do a cold plunge.
No, I would definitely not do it or work
not
out.
Giving cold plunge
sounds kind of soft right now. It sounds pretty soft. I'm not gonna lie. Like
I think we should put Graham in the cold plunge, take him straight to the courts after, and
get
see.
in the pool. It's like it's cold enough today.
I don't like losing, but I'm not competitive, and so I don't know. It's just like a struggle of life.
Like not every
I don't like losing. It makes me like quiet and become like introverted and not happy. But I also don't like have that mentality of like I didn't want to attack and destroy this person.
You're not a dog.
I'm not a dog.
Yeah,
I don't have that. Yeah,
it's okay. Yeah, it's totally fine. So moving on. I know that you're sponsored by Joola now, right? Is that right?
I am.
And how long ago did you sign with them?
I signed in June of 2022, so I'm at a year and a half.
Okay, cool. And you probably had quite a lot of offers. Like, how did you end up like kind of landing on Joola? Like, what was the process? Did you interview with a lot of other paddle companies, or? Not
really, actually. Not too many. I really liked them from the start, and I really, really liked the paddle.
Yeah.
I didn't really try a lot of paddles too.
Right.
I kind of like decided I liked Joola, and we just kind of went with them. I feel like at the time, like Selkirk started making a bunch of offers in 2023, like at the start of the year is kind of when I felt like they started to really like decide they wanted to ramp up kind of the players on their squad, so they weren't really too big on the radar. And then Joola was really new. Like I got one of their paddles, I think, right before the official launch with Ben, or maybe it was right after. I can't remember. And I really liked it because I had been using the Model E, and I talked to Electrum some, but I think a lot of people had some things go sour there with them.
Nice.
So.
Do you have input at all at this point for your paddle with Joola, or do they make paddles and you say, I like that one? Like, I mean, I guess Ben has input, right? Like,
I think Ben and Colin have a lot of input. Like they kind of surprised me with my paddle. Like it was a surprise that they gave
Who
me
was a surprise?
paddle.
Joola surprised you?
Yeah, like that I had a signature paddle. Because they had been asking me a lot, like, do you like this? Do you like that? Like I had been trying a lot of things.
Right.
But I thought it was just for, the next line of paddles.
So then you had input.
Yeah, they kind of surprised me by like putting it all together. But I think Ben and Ben
all
might
right,
be
so
more
tell
about
me
the
what
actual
is specific
design.
about your paddle that you like that's different than the other. It's a unibody, right?
Yes.
It's similar to Ben's and Colin's. What's the difference?
Well, mine and Colin's are actually the same. It's just 14 and 16.
You're the
14.
14. Interesting.
Yeah.
Colin plays a 16. That's the
course
reset
he does,
monster.
yeah.
What is up with him?
Yeah, of course.
Speaking of soft,
probably would use 18.
he probably enjoyed.
No, Colin is, Colin is like the softest hard man ever. Like, he gets hit net court something, he's throwing his hat, he's throwing his paddle, but, the man is in men's doubles, so clutch, like hasn't missed a dink in like 2 years in a final. Like it's unbelievable.
Right. Yeah.
Someone was talking to me the other day that's like an up and coming guy from the area, and he's like, I'd rather play Ben and Colin than J-Dub and Dylan because at least, you can pick on Colin. I was like, you can't like pick on Colin. He's like, well, all he does is dink. I'm like, you think you're going to out dink Colin Johns? Like, he's like, but you can attack him. I was like, his counters are elite.
Yeah.
It's like this. I think it's the same thing. It's like if you haven't, of course, I haven't played that team, but if you don't have a trained eye, if you haven't watched it a lot, you can't fully appreciate it. And that's what Ben and Colin said, like the right side is not, doesn't get like the same amount of appreciation, but it's like, you can't pick on Colin.
I think that's pickleball in general. Like watching from the outside, you can't tell really how good someone is or how difficult that match is until you're across from it. Because looking from the outside, you're like,
watch in person, like you have to be close sometimes to really be like, wow, like Colin is so dialed right now.
Yeah.
Like James loves to watch. Last year he loved to watch, and so I would watch it a lot too. Like Ben and Colin versus Matt and Riley, and lots of times he texted me, he'd like, Colin played so well, like Ben wasn't that great, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're big Colin fans.
I am too.
What's up, guys? It is That Pickleball Trainer, and I am interrupting you from your favorite trash talking group because I think that you are ready to take your pickleball game to the next level. Myself and some expert coaches of mine have developed a year-long program that is geared towards pickleball. It comes with weekly workouts. It comes with refiner programs that help heal your shoulder, your elbow, your hips, your knees, your feet. Literally everything is included in this year-long program, and it's coming at you for $1 a day. So if you're struggling with endurance on the courts, or maybe you're struggling with put-away shots, or maybe you just want to feel better on the courts, this program is for you. It is called That Pickleball Program 001. You should give it a try today. Drop down in the notes below to get 7 days for free. All right, back to the show.
So one thing I was going to ask about paddle stuff is your take on the sort of paddle failings at the events and stuff. Did you have any of your paddles fail at the, which one was it? Which one had a lot of failures?
That was a Dallas MLP.
Yeah, Atlanta. Yeah, because at Atlanta there weren't too many failures. Yeah, so in Atlanta, I think I had 2 paddles fail.
Okay.
Out of 7.
Okay.
I think.
Do you take all 7 in to get tested in that moment?
No, I brought 4 paddles with me to Atlanta, and I had 2 out of those 4 fail.
Okay.
And those were 2 that I had been playing with for a while.
Okay.
And then I was a little panicky about that, so I had James bring me 3 more from home that were new, and those all passed.
So the older ones are failing because they're delaminating a little bit, so they come off a little faster.
Yeah.
But do you then?
I don't even know, like.
You don't notice it?
I don't know if it's I guess it is delam. Like I can't like speak on like.
Do you prefer a used-in paddle or a new paddle when you're playing?
Used.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit hotter.
Yeah, it just feels better. Like they kind of like soften up. They feel more. Yeah, it's
a little more trampoline-y. There's a little more feel, but also a little more kick when you go to push.
I don't know. The main thing is it's hard to explain, but yeah, I think most pros prefer something you've used for like a week. You want to use it a little bit before you go into like a tournament.
Okay.
Or something.
Yeah. Travis is actually the opposite. I think I'm speaking for him right now, but he tends to like really fresh paddles because they're the roughest.
Yeah, there's also the grit. Like some people like brand new for grit purposes. Whereas my game isn't too grit dependent actually. Like I don't really hit with much shape.
Gotcha. I think that it is for him. He really likes when it's fresh because it'll be like a week old and he's like, he'll like toss the paddle and be like, I need a new one to pull a new one out of the back because he just wants that feel. He wants that spin.
Funny.
That he misses that. It's like we're talking about maybe like a half inch of spin and he's like, yeah, I need that. Like, okay.
It's funny. I don't know. I think men are much more anal about that stuff. But this was actually funny. So at the Joola clinics once, I just left a paddle out and I saw like Leia go over and like feel it. Like she wanted to know if I was getting like special paddles. And then I was like, what you think, Leia? She was like, it's smoother than mine. I was like, I know. she was like trying to be sneaky, but I saw her. It was funny.
Hilarious.
It was cheeky. But going on to PPA Dallas, it was crazy.
Really?
It was crazy.
So what did you do? Because I made a comment and I wanted to almost retract it because I was uncertain, but I saw a Joola representative, somebody, with boxes. And these boxes fit, I think like 50 or 100 paddles. And they were just pulling them out one by one at the testing center to try to get some to pass.
It was crazy, yeah.
And these are new paddles, not used.
Paddles are failing left and right. I think my paddles did a lot better than other people's, which I thought was funny. It's like, do I get special treatment or do I not?
Right.
like, am I getting like not hot paddles, not gritty paddles, or are they like choosing to pass mine? It's like, which is it? I don't know which it is.
Yeah.
But I think in my first batch, I think I had like half of mine fail.
Well, how many is that? Like in a batch?
I either gave them 4 or 6. I don't remember. And 2 or 3 failed. 2 or 3 failed.
Yeah.
You know, and but then so I did okay. Whereas some people with Joolas and also it wasn't just Joola though. Like tons were having trouble. Like every 002's out of play.
Right.
Like I think even like Zane, like with Pro XR was having
Engage was having problems. All the companies.
And like Pro XR like was totally fine in Atlanta, like pretty much no failures.
Right.
And then they were like Zane was having some fail. But then after that, it was tough for me. Like before the paddle I had been playing with in group play failed, then the paddle I played with after the semis failed. So I was using a brand new paddle for the final. Which is fine, but we were rushing to get a paddle to pass, and I had an hour essentially between hour and 15 between the end of the semi and the final, so that was pretty stressful.
Well, so these are paddles that passed in the beginning of MLP Dallas, but then failed like on day 2. Same paddle?
one of mine failed not because of a change in deflection, but because they spot test grit. They test grit on like 20%.
And it came high?
They test grit only 20%. So in the first initial pass, they didn't test the grit. Then because I was like, I haven't even hit with this paddle, and they were like, it was grit. Like we spot test the grit, which is fine. But I was kind of annoyed about it, of course, because it's like this pass and now it fails. But it's kind of tough. And then the same company goes to Daytona, and then that was kind of a mess too.
Right.
That was kind of a mess too. And then it's kind of like paddles are not failing at the same rate, and it's like there's just really a lack of transparency, and I don't know that. It's a lot of people's fault. Like, there's not one finger to blame, but it's like the paddle companies are upset because it's like they're not testing to USA Pickleball standards,
right? And
paddles are made to USA Pickleball standards, and the paddle companies can't afford to have like these paddles work for APPs, these paddles work for PPAs, these paddles are MLP paddles. Like there needs to be a uniform standard, and so that's frustrating for them and for players, of course, too. And then it's like no one knows, is the PPA testing to the standards that they liked? Or is PPL testing to MLP standards?
Right.
Jill Braverman, I don't know what her source is, but says that the standards changed mid-event. Like that obviously can't be happening. Right. And then I personally had like, it's also like, how good is their test? Like, why is there such a big change from Atlanta to Dallas?
Right.
Because I also had a paddle pass on mixed day. I had 2 paddles pass the morning of mixed day. I played with one of them. The next day, I give the same 2 paddles back for Women's Day. One fails. It's the one I didn't even touch.
Wow.
And I asked them, I was like, is this a grit or deflection failure? The one I'd been playing with all of mixed day, 3 matches, passes, and they're like, oh, deflection. And I was like, this past deflection yesterday, I didn't touch it. And then they were like, you must, it could just be like weather, a little cold if you left it outside. And I was like, I didn't. Like, I wasn't being rude, but I was kind of like, this paddle hasn't been hit with. Like, it shouldn't have failed deflection over a day long period. Like, if it was a grit spot test again, I'd be like, okay,
sure,
paddles don't feel gritty to me, but like it is. So there's also like, is their test
consistent?
Consistent. Like that's another thing I haven't heard people talk about.
And
like,
the consistency from event to event, or
event to
from
event. Like when
PPA
they
to
travel
MLP
with these machines, because like USA Pickleball does not travel with deflection machines.
Right.
So how can the machine handle travel? Like there's a lot of stuff that we just don't know.
Right.
Like why are all the 002s failing at MLP? Then 002s are fine at PPA Daytona, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that it's like, it's a different standard, or it's the machine is working with it, because companies are not bringing out new batches of paddles this fast.
Right. Yeah, there's no way.
Well, so I make paddles now, and so I know a little bit about it, and there is a lot of inconsistency in the manufacturing. Like they can't get the paddles exact, even from 1 to 1, especially like on unibodies, because unibody, like if you know paddles, ones that are sandwich paddles are made in batches of like, let's say 30 or 40 in a bunch. They're just cut out of one sheet. So those are probably all really consistent.
Okay.
But thermoforms like you play, unibodies, they're made in molds 1 by 1. Like literally your one paddle gets made for 2 or 3 hours in a mold, then gets pulled out. Well, depending on the exact amount of time it was in that mold, the amount of pressure in that mold, what the temperatures were in that moment, that paddle could be a little bit different, literally from one to the next. Not just batch 100 or batch 1,000, but 1 to 1. So, and I say kudos to the companies for pushing the limit, because they're pushing the limit, obviously. They're putting it right to the edge. And so if half are failing, it's like Zane says for serving. I want to miss 1 in 10 serves long. Like, I feel like a paddle should be that way too. I feel like half should be failing, because then you're getting the paddle right to that limit. And that's going to make the pro the happiest, I would think, right?
I don't know that half should be failing, but it's like those paddles are passing, for the most part, USA Pickleball standards.
Right.
They're not being made to these stricter standards.
Right.
So it's like, I think that's a big reason why we're seeing so many failures. But I also like, it's very strange to me that if it's the same test, like why is there such a big difference event to event? And I think that the solution to kind of some of this transparency stuff is really, really simple. I feel like both PPA and MLP need to, I don't think it's a big overhead change. It's like you submit your paddles for the match and they send a text to the players, like, and a representative from each team just goes and literally sits in the room while they test the paddles.
Right.
And then and it shouldn't be like something that they're trying to hide the score of, like, because sometimes they won't tell you like the number of your grit. They don't want to tell you for some reason. It's like, you should say, you know? And so then and so, like if like at MLP, like all the paddles for squeeze versus DC are going to get tested now. We send our GM, they send their coach. It's not a big deal. Or same if it's like at a PPA doubles match, because starting at the quarters, like if I was playing with James, like I could go, and then if we're playing like Ben and Annalise or like the Johnsons, like they can just send like Mircha or Julie. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then it's just, there's no questioning of,
are they just passing
anything.
it or not passing
exactly,
it?
right?
Yeah.
And, is there any favoritism for some brands or anything?
I got favoritism. They passed mine even though it failed. Did you know that story?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I'll probably get in trouble again, but I was playing a Pro XR and it failed the grit test. And I told the guys like, hey, I'm like a 5-0. No one cares. I'm not going to win matches. And if I do, they're not going to blame the paddle, I promise you. And he was like, all right, yeah, I passed.
Yeah, and it's just like, then because obviously like
and I only had one paddle, by the way.
That's funny.
For the whole tournament.
It's also like grit especially, it's like you can kind of test different spots. Like there's things that can be done that are not hard to do.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like if there's just someone in the room from each team, it will just really eliminate all questioning of the organizations and of the companies and of other players. And I feel like that could just be huge to getting over like talking about paddles all the time.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's too much of an ask for, like Dylan, the PPA player rep, just says like, hey, we're testing the paddles. And if you choose not to send someone, you just don't get to be part of it. You know what I mean? But it's like just a more organized system. Like we're testing the paddles for this quarter now. And then it's just like you trust the test, you trust the organization, you trust your players, you trust the companies.
Right.
And
That's
it's just
a great
simpler.
point. Yeah.
I think it's a really simple thing that would really help us move on to talking about paddles a lot less, which I know a lot of pros are happy to talk about, but I always see like comments from fans like, sick of hearing about paddles. It's like, I get it. It's too much.
I agree. I mean, I think that for most people who are interested in it don't have that level of expertise or that knowledge to like even worry about it.
Yeah, I always see people like on these long Facebook threads, it's like, saying like, just let them all play with hot paddles. Who cares? Like, you don't understand. It's so unsafe. It's so unsafe. Like, you can't have that.
Yeah, even in high level rec play, you're like, get that paddle off the court. It's absurd.
Like the new gearboxes.
Right.
It's like absurd. But it's a kudos to Gearbox for figuring out like how to do it. Because I felt one of the paddles like you can kind of squish it.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense because
but it passes the test, and it's like kudos to them. But it's like Ben Johnson's talked about it so much. We need to move away from deflection to like literally exit velocity.
Exit velocity.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. Okay. Well, then, let's not talk about paddles too much in case we bore everyone to death.
I feel like people who listen to your podcast are nerds.
Maybe they. Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah.
You listen to it.
No, I since I started the podcast with Dylan, I stopped listening to any other pickleball podcast. Just can't do it.
It is hard to keep up when you're like.
This doesn't even feel like true tennis. Like, so no Travis and no like eyeballs going back and forth like watching pickleball.
I know. I'm upset. I want to do it on the courts, but they're like people are starting to complain about the pickleball noise in the background. I'm like, for me, it's therapeutic. I like that noise. I don't know.
Right,
I like hearing the click.
Like,
I think it's divided. I mean, some people like it, some people hate it. I don't know.
We'll still be doing episodes out there. Don't worry.
For sure.
I just like the eyeballs.
Well, since Travis isn't here, what do you think about him as a player? You can talk shit about him.
Should
he can't
rename
defend himself.
the podcast like Travis Sucks. Travis Sucks.
We've been thinking about a name change, actually. That's a good one.
Travis Sucks?
Yeah, welcome to the Travis Sucks podcast. That's this episode.
That's actually not bad. My thoughts on Travis. I feel like Travis is one of those people where it's like a shame that he's not younger. Like maybe if Travis was younger, he doesn't get injured stretching. You know,
he wasn't stretching himself. Somebody was stretching him.
I know. But yeah, it's just a shame he's younger. I also feel like it's he kind of hits the ball similar to a lot of the senior pros. He just kind of played tennis at a time when it was a little more stiff, a little less wristy, and I think you can kind of see that in his just the way he hits the ball. It's like it's more linear. Just adds there's less deception when you don't use your wrist as much. But no, I think Travis is super solid. I kind of call him budget J-Dub, actually. Like at least in the context of playing mixed with Georgia. I think Travis and Georgia are such a good team because he plays pretty similar to J-Dub. Just super patient, like Doesn't do too many speed ups. Just kind of doesn't take too much court from George. George speeds it up. He cleans it up. He'll flick a backhand every now and again. But so that I think in the context of mixed with George,
you know what's big on Travis too? Like I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but in rec play, he plays like a lot more aggressive and a lot more deceptive. Like we'll be playing out at Crescent, and I'm like, you've never hit that shot in a pro match ever. Yeah, it wouldn't work there. And I'm like, no, it's like, that's the slimiest, nastiest shot I've ever seen you hit. Why don't you hit? And he's like, well, it's not high percentage. And I'm thinking, yeah, but you seem to hit it like
nine
out of 10 times. No, but he hits it every time. It's like, what do you mean it's not high percentage? It's not high percentage in that moment. But out here, he's like hitting all these insane shots. Yeah. And we're just like, what is that? Why don't you do that at the pro level? He's like, it wouldn't work and it's not consistent. And I'm like, I think you should try. I think you should like play a couple matches where you just do that and see what happens. Like start throwing these insane shots out there and see if it works because he's never tried it. And I know that it like jaw drop. I mean, we're only 5-0s or 5-5s, but it jaw drops us. And then we watch him play in pro. We're like you said, he's kind of like conservative, doesn't miss a lot and not very deceptive. And I'm like, he can do it. He just chooses not to in pro
I'd like
level.
To see it. Yeah, I love Travis. I don't really want to give him fuel to like chirp against me because I know he likes to get a little rowdy. But
that's funny.
No.
All right. Well, then the flip side,
he's so athletic. It's just a little.
Who
older,
is your favorite player on tour?
There is a right answer. And
it's not Travis.
Remember, I played a tournament this year.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was going crazy rooting for Graham at TC.
My only fan.
It's actually so funny. AJ texted me. He was like, you got money on this match? And I was like, no, it would just be so funny. Like, it would just be so funny if they won.
We should have. I was very tight and nervous, especially the first game.
I feel like Travis like got going in the second. I feel like he was...
Well,
he had to get a little. I think he had to get a little fiery.
He did.
I was like, I gotta fire.
You did. You helped a lot, and we did have some decent games later on in the back draw.
Yeah,
we had some.
Won,
we had some good wins.
Yeah.
And Travis was playing out of his mind. I played some decent matches, but thank you for supporting me that moment. And
that was fun. It was fun.
I'm glad to be your favorite player on tour. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Were you there? Did you watch it in person?
Yeah. It was on a side. I was going crazy for them.
Oh,
I was actually going crazy.
That's awesome.
I had one of those like dribbler. Did I have like a dribbler ATP too? Like I think one of those let roll.
I don't remember.
I had like a dribbler ATP.
Nice.
And I hit it, and it's an easy shot.
Sure.
And Anna went crazy. She was like, whoa, let's go.
I was really
just like a little tap.
I was having a lot of fun. It was
awesome.
a really fun match, and Travis was starting to get a little into it. And
good.
But my favorite, I don't know, favorite person. There's so many really great people. I love Georgia.
Yeah,
she's so great. Favorite, like I think the most beautiful technique on tour is Bobby Ashiro. Men and women, male or female. It's just so pretty. It's so deceptive. So I like watching Bobby play a lot.
That's
agreed.
Yeah, she's fun to watch.
Cool. Who else do I really like? I don't know. I like most people.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself being permanently residing in like Delray Beach, South Florida, or do you somewhere in the future see yourself moving?
No, James and I have talked about moving. We're definitely going to be in, Boca Del Rey area for the next year. We just signed a new lease. But then we're open. I mean, there's not really too many.
Have you spent a lot of time in St. Pete?
I'm approaching 20 hours probably, but it's been great so far. It's really cute here, like driving over the bridge. I was like,
and did you go
gorgeous.
Downtown? This city is amazing.
I haven't gone downtown, but I really there's a lot of traffic though. I've experienced a lot of traffic so
there's
far.
Traffic.
And I've heard I'm driving to Orlando soon, and I've heard that's
bad.
Terrible.
That's a bad drive.
But it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Okay, well, think about it, and we'll have an indoor facility hopefully soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, once
cool.
this big facility gets opened up, you'll have a really nice place to play. So, yeah,
that's
lots
cool.
of reasons to move
Interesting.
We're trying to recruit pros. We've got a handful that are thinking about it, mostly from Florida, but in this area, and also some people in Naples, Fort Myers, and then now you and Jimmy. We'll have a nice little group.
That would be cool. Yeah, no, we're thinking about it. Austin is on a. There's not too many places where there's genuinely good practice, but we probably do want to get out of the little bubble at some point. I don't know.
Okay, I'll be hounding you for the next year then.
Get some moving stipends set up. Great.
I'm on it.
Give me some palm trees.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a jungle. I show up to this house and I'm just like, is this it? It's literally a jungle out front.
It is.
It's
way too many
privacy.
palm trees.
Privacy. Graham doesn't believe in natural light.
Yeah. He's part of Big Palm.
I do love But yeah, I love jungle. That's
No,
what in my mind I
love
said
it,
I wanted
though.
to be jungly, and that's
I
what
like
created.
neighborhoods like this where everything looks different. Like we don't really have that in our area.
Yeah.
It's strong HOAs.
Yep.
Everything's
St. Pete.
pretty.
Time to
Yeah.
come to St.
Everything's
Pete.
very
Dude.
uniform. So I like areas
There
like
it
this.
is. That's funny. All right, cool. Well, that was all our stuff. So
Travis Sucks podcast. Thanks for listening.
I think that's kind of funny.
And good luck. Good luck in
Yeah,
the
good luck.
Invitational PPA and MLP.
Thank you.
Guys, I mean, what a year. A win. What a season. First, runner-up, and maybe first again. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
it would be cool. It won't be easy.
Yeah, for sure.
It would be cool.
All right.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Anna.